Hello and welcome to another edition of Issachar Podcast right here on SoundCloud. Thank you so much as always for taking time out of your day to download it. And we have yet another very interesting episode for you today. We're going to be speaking today with Moses West. Moses West, he is the founder and CEO of AWGcontractingus.com. What is that? Well, he developed a machine. It's a technology that actually pulls water out of the air. And he would like to do this for free for people who are in need of it. And so we had a wonderful conversation today, and I'm so glad that we're all going to sit down and listen to it. And it was about a half an hour, a little bit plus or minus, and wonderful guy. And I'm so glad we was able to make that connection. And so, so in short, he has like I just said, it's a machine that he's developed. And basically what it does is, like I just said, it pulls, think of a dehumidifier, right? Your dehumidifier, you know how it collects a lot of water? Well, that's in essence, that's a very easy way of explaining it. And he went in places he went in the Caribbean and was able to help the people out in Puerto Rico, and he'll talk a little bit about that. He also talked about how he went into Flint, Michigan. Now, as you know, Flint, Michigan had, it still does have this ongoing issues with water, and quality of water. Well, he was able to bring his machine there and provide the people of Flint with clean water. He was able to do that. But he provided us a little bit more information because we also heard about what else happened, in Flint. Someone sabotaged his machines and stuff. But he went on and gave us some additional information that I don't think was covered in the media. Like I told him, this is the first I've heard of this. But it's actually a great thing. So just sit back, relax, and let's get to the interview that I had with Moses West. Okay, Moses, thank you so much for taking time out of your day. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much, man.
Oh, you're very welcome.
All right. So Moses, as we just said right before we went to recording here, I did see quite a few of your interviews, and we're going to get to what you do and the machine and all of that stuff that the wonderful things that you're doing. But I kind of want to know a little bit about the person behind that, because what I found very interesting is your name, Moses, which I'm sure it means to draw out, and that's exactly what you're doing. You're drawing out water from the air and providing it for these people. And I just think that's so amazing. So what got you to this point? I mean, what led you to, because I'm sure you just didn't wake up one morning and say, oh, I just want to create a machine that creates water out of the air. I mean, what was your childhood like, and what led you to this point?
Well, my childhood was very special. Like, as a military dependent, my father was in the military, and my parents were very special to me. So I grew up in a very community. I had teachers that really took a keen interest in what I did. Is the best kid, just like any young kid growing up, but having the right people to mentor you was key into my early development. Very key.
And so at that age, when you were younger, did you have an interest in like engineering and things of that nature? Because I know later on you went into the military. Where did that come about?
I couldn't find anything when I was a kid that I didn't want to take apart.
Yeah.
I would play with my toys when I got them for Christmas. So back in the day, we used to get all these things made toys, batteries in them. I used to take everything apart. Everything.
Man, you ain't the only one. Literally everything. You play with it, after a moment or two, a few days after you get off of the shiny glow of it. Excuse me. Next thing you know, I'm in the garage, going into my dad's toolbox and getting the screwdrivers and stuff that I wasn't supposed to touch in the first place because he knew I never put them back. And I'm taking stuff apart.
Definitely. Definitely.
Wow.
And then being a military dependent and then being on the military bases before everything became very strict the way it is today.
Mm-hmm.
The bases were more when we lived on them. The trucks, the vehicles, they would park a tank someplace. And in the evening, we would actually go up there and we could open it up, climb inside, and play around with it.
Mm.
It was incredible. It was
Mm-hmm.
an incredible childhood.
Wow.
Growing up during the Vietnam War was. I remember they had it on that Fort Sam East, so they had a little VC village set up,
Mm-hmm.
and with the GIs would put booby traps out there during the night for the guys to come back during the day, and us dependents, we would actually go out there and we'd learn how to take all that stuff apart.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, interesting childhood.
Yeah. So fast forward, I mean, you had your own time in the military. You was a Ranger, right?
Yes, I was.
Mm-hmm.
It was. I trained there at Fort Benning, 75th Ranger Regiment.
Mm-hmm.
Benning School for Boys is what we call it. Commissioned as a infantry officer, second lieutenant, and the rest is history.
Mm-hmm. So how did it get to, you had your experience there, in the military and all that. Where did that off ramp come, if you want to call it that, to where you started getting interested in, in this technology, this palladium technology that you're working with today?
Well, the last job I had, I did a branch transfer from infantry, so I was commissioned infantry. Then I went aviation branch, and as aviation, I was a pilot, and then that got a little bit boring, so I became a test pilot. And then going to test pilot schools where I learned my engineering and mechanical skills. Mm-hmm. But then traveling around the world, one thing I noticed was I've always been close to nature. I was actually born in Georgia. Mm. And being close to the earth and being able to drink water from flowing streams and springs when I was a child, then to growing up and traveling the world and seeing the water become more contaminated, mm-hmm. and then seeing the advance of climate change, there was something I had to do. Mm-hmm. I had to participate in a solution. Mm-hmm. I just couldn't sit by idly and watch this take place. Mm-hmm. And so for the longest of time, I went to Australia. I stayed in Australia for 11 years after I got out of the military. So I've lived more outside of the United States than I've actually lived in it. Mm-hmm. And I studied cistern systems, but it had to rain to fill a cistern system. And then when I was passing through Hawaii, I had a next-door neighbor, like I said before, that had a small water generator in his house, and that just set me off. Mm. There's that much moisture in the atmosphere, and so in the process of then till now, that was 2012 till today, I've developed the most advanced machine in the world. Mm. I know how to pull water out of the atmosphere cheaper than you can pull it out of the ground. Mm.
So this machine, because, and anybody that's listening to, it's a ton of videos that's on YouTube, where he's showing you demonstrations of it. In essence, and again, I'm not in that field that you're in, but what it looks like to me, it almost operates like a dehumidifier. Am I about right with that? And I know it's a little more complex than that, but is that the essence of what it's doing?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And then you're just pulling.
It's
Go ahead.
Yeah, just pulling the moisture out of the air. Pull the moisture out of the air, but it's got to be done. It's got to be efficient enough. When I was working with the state of Texas and the Texas Commission of Environmental Quality and the Texas Military Forces and Trinity University to get the approval process to use this technology as a water source, you have to have an energy consumption that is at the cost of groundwater or less for it to be a viable option. And right now, what I've done is I've advanced the technology to a point that no one else has done before by developing a new way to do this, by adding a second stage where now I can pull water out of the atmosphere so much cheaper than you can pull it out of the ground. I like to say that if you walk to a stream and you use your body's energy to fill a bucket up with water and carry it back to your house, you're using more energy to do that than I could use in producing water in this machine.
Wow.
Right where you need it.
Wow. Now, what's the because this is one thing, you had mentioned like climate change, because it something you said earlier, it reminded me of even when I was a child. I mean, there was a time, this is very rare, but even to my parents, there were times they used to go swimming in the creek. There were times they used to drink out of, springs and stuff in the atmosphere, in the environment, and wherever it is. But now, with this, we're dealing with a whole nother set of circumstances, today with the environment and different contaminants and stuff that's out there. So how do you, when it comes to the air quality, there's a whole lot of things that unfortunately we've been pumping into the air. How do these machines, how do they reconcile that? How do you deal with that when it comes to pulling moisture out of the air, making drinking water, but that air, it does have some contaminants in there, and I'm sure there's some filtrations in there. So could you explain a little bit about that?
Most definitely. Mm-hmm. When you have a high concentration of contaminants in the air, the best example that I can give is look at some old pictures of Los Angeles, mm-hmm. and you couldn't see the skyline, you couldn't see the buildings. And now look at new pictures of China.
Right.
So people in China are constantly walking around. Before the COVID virus, they were walking around with masks on. Mm-hmm. And the reason they were because the air quality was horrendous. Mm-hmm. So everything that's in the air has got a temperature that where it'll come out. And usually it's a petrochemical or some type of other petrochemical-based chemical that's in the atmosphere. And it takes extremely high temperature or an extremely low temperature to pull that chemical out of the air, mm-hmm. whereas the water comes out of the air at a specific temperature called the dew point. Mm. And so when you have a surface area that has the dew point, the only thing that machine is looking for is H2O molecule. Mm-hmm. So once you grab that molecule, everything else, when the air flows through the machine and the air is already filtered, it picks up that dew point on the surface. It picks up that moisture on the surface area, and then it pushes the rest of the air through the machine. Mm. And that's it. Mm-hmm. And then you have that water droplet form. It falls, and then there's another process in the machine where when the water's going down, it leaves anything that's in that water on that surface. Then that water falls down to another tank before it's pulled into the filtration system. Mm-hmm. And then the filtration system is a heavy-duty filter and laced with silver, so it impedes the growth of bacteria. Mm. So what you get is a very pure source of water. Wow. And it's not distilled. It's just like drinking pure rainwater.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing.
So wow. there's no hazardous air. It's called HAPs, hazardous airborne particulates. Mm-hmm. And there's none of that it never been tested. It never been found in any water. And we've done water quality tests in San Antonio at Trinity University during the pilot project with the Texas Commission of Environmental Quality and the Texas Military Forces. And then up at Camp Mabry in Austin, Texas, we pulled several water tests to test for PFOAs, perfluorinated compounds, mm-hmm. and also to do a water quality test, and never has a hazardous airborne particulate been found in the water.
Wow. So, and so this can kind of, let's say, for example, because, the videos I've seen of you talking about this, it's mainly being framed, again, this is the few videos I saw. It's primarily, I guess, as a solution for, let's say, in a disaster situation, right? We know that this can definitely mm-hmm. work in that situation. However, let's say, could this be something that you can foresee as being, maybe working as an apparatus, let's say, to a local municipality's water supply, perhaps?
I'm very happy that you asked that question. Mm. I'm currently working with Southwest Research Institute. I know how to build. I can build a system now, probably, say 25,000 square feet, 20, 25, 50,000 square feet, and I can turn that whole structure into a water generator.
Wow.
So now the system that I used in Puerto Rico, I was using 0.08 kilowatts an hour per liter to make water.
Mm-hmm.
And today I can produce that same amount of water, probably 5 to 10 fold reduction in energy to produce that same amount of water. Mm. So what I was producing in Puerto Rico on the island of Vieques, pulling 2,000 liters a day. Now today I can pull that 10,000 or possibly 20,000 liters a day using that exact same amount of water that I use, energy that I use to get 2,000 gallons.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really amazing. Wow, that's something.
And it's non-mechanical. That's a non-mechanical process to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no energy consumption. The only thing I'm doing is changing the size of other components.
Mm-hmm. 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 And so
I can definitely what I'm looking at now is taking houses off grid. I can do that. I can take a whole city off grid.
Wow. That's very interesting, because oftentimes we think of, what you just said, like in terms of power, in electricity, but you're the first person, in all honesty, that I've ever heard talking about actually doing the same thing with water, being able to to provide a water supply like that for a community, a town, or, probably, with the right technology and with the resources, of course. It's endless. And I think that's really something. That's really something, because go ahead.
Here's what I would like for all of your listeners to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you go back to 2018, when I took that big system to Puerto Rico, to the island of Vieques in Puerto Rico, there was the hospital that I was at was called Susana Centeno.
Mm-hmm.
I took a unit there. That unit supplied that entire island with its drinking water.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the only one there. I was the only operator. I got a donor to donate $7,500. We shipped a cable from the United States to that island. There was a Tesla solar array on the island with a Tesla battery.
Mm-hmm.
And we hooked into that battery, and we ran that entire hospital and all the water on that island on solar power.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So it's already been done.
Right.
So the hospital was operating on solar power. The water was being produced for all the residents on solar power, and it was a confined area with a military guard.
Mm-hmm.
So it has already been done. It's the first time it's been done in history.
Wow. That's
called net zero.
Yeah.
And I've already done it.
So because I saw on your website you have two sizes. You have the large size, and then you have one that's a little bit smaller. How many gallons of water does the large one produces versus the smaller one?
2,000 gallons, and that's with the Generation 2.
Mm-hmm.
For the Generation 3, which I built for the military, that machine can do upwards of 300 gallons a day.
300 gallons a day. Wow.
So your large, and the large, and then the right temperature and the right humidity, and then the larger unit normally just does on the maximum humidity and temperature that it'll operate, 2,200 gallons a day.
Mm.
But then the Generation 3 unit, building one in that large size, which I have not built yet, it'll do twice that amount. And then the Generation 4, when you do it in a structure, it'll do 10 times that amount.
Mm. This sounds
this is no longer difficult.
Mm-hmm. This sounds actually like a much affordable, or I'll say a cheaper option than, let's say, if a local town or whatever, let's say on the coastline, had a desalination plant or something like that, where that's from my readings, it seems like that's always been the big hurdle, because people look at the Atlantic Ocean or the Pacific Ocean, whatever saltwater body you're near, and you just think that, man, well, you got a whole big old body of water here, but the problem has been you got to take the salt out. And it takes a lot of money to do that. But something like this that you're talking about, it doesn't even sound like it's scratching the surface in terms of when you do a comparison to cost. This is really something. This is really something, and it sounds
right.
like, wow, this is really something.
And you have two things. You have two things when you do desal. Not only do you have the high energy cost, but then you also have something left over. You have a byproduct product called brine.
Yes.
And what most people do is they pump that brine back into the sea. If you change the salinity of the ocean, it kills everything in its path.
That's right.
So you can make all the water you want from desal, but when you push the salt back into the sea, you kill the sea.
That's right.
So if you go to the Dead Sea, you can jump in and you float, and you don't have to worry about anything biting you. Right. There's nothing living in it.
That's right. It's a great feature.
That's right. Wherever there's a desal plant, you go out there and swim all day long. Don't worry about getting bit by anything because there's nothing alive.
Wow. I didn't realize. I didn't think of that. That's right. You have that byproduct. And what else are they going to do with it?
That's right.
They just dump it right in the water. Wow.
They pump it back into the sea, and that big cloud of brine just goes through like a cloud of death and kills everything that swims through it.
Now, I remember reading something. This is a while back. Maybe it was a video, so I can't remember now. I think you went to Ferguson. Correct me. Not Ferguson. Sorry. Flint, Michigan. Was it Flint? Okay. You went to Flint, Michigan.
Yes, it was.
And it sounded like you had some issues there. It sounded like everything was going well and something kind of happening. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think what it was, the machine was definitely sabotaged. And what they did was they got into it at night, and they did a very sophisticated job to destroy the compressor. But luckily, I had another compressor, and I shipped that compressor was shipped all the way to me from Puerto Rico, and another organization called Open World Relief. Ben Watts runs that, and Janice Stone is a longtime friend of mine, and we worked together in Puerto Rico. And Mojo, who was there, they went all the way to the island of Vieques. They pulled the compressor, and they brought that all the way they shipped it all the way, FedEx, to Flint, Michigan. And what the backstory is that people don't know, it was men from the neighborhood of Flint that repaired that machine with me. No outside help. That was all done by the residents of Flint.
Wow.
We repaired that machine, and we were back up in operation within a week.
Wow.
And then the neighborhood put a guard on the machine and cameras, so we knew every outsider who came into that neighborhood and looked at that unit. And the neighborhood controlled the water operation there. Wow. That's what a lot of people don't know about that.
Yeah, I certainly didn't know to hear that part. Wow, that's great. Wow. That's right.
That machine, that big machine was repaired by the men of Flint.
Wow. That's awesome. Do you encounter I don't know, how often have you seen things like that happen where, because this is a really interesting technology, and you're talking about something where, basically you're wanting to give this to people free, the water and all of that, and of course you have industry opportunists that want to monetize anytime, anything that's going to help people. They always want to monetize it, and so you have people who want to come in and try to sabotage and do things like that. Have you encountered things like that besides what you just described in Flint, Michigan?
From the beginning, from the very beginning, people, you'd be shocked at the amount of money that I have to spend just to protect myself from the devious people who want to either steal my patents, steal or copy my technology, or basically derail my company or my government contracts. It's an enormous amount of money that I just have to spend to protect. Basically, what I call it is a box that you plug in that makes water. The tens of thousands of dollars that I have to spend just to make sure that I'm able to keep this in your hands, your neighbor's hands, and the public's hands. and not in a private company's hands, because the first thing they're going to do is they're going to monetize the technology. They're going to monetize the amount of water that comes out. Whereas this is a source of water. This is a technology that will allow you and anybody in the world to tap into a source of water that is absolutely free for you, because you live in it every day. And it continues, us engineers, to continue to develop it for the world and not for a private corporation. And that's the thing that'll probably, that right there is probably going to be the thing that will cause me the most harm.
Yeah, I totally hear you.
But I'm up for the fight, so.
Yeah, I know you are. Because it wouldn't be it's no other person but you, that's doing this, and and it's not a such thing as coincidence, at all. So, I want to ask you one more thing. What was the question? And that was, what any projects, any things you have coming up in the future that we should? Oh, no. Actually, before I get to that, you have a foundation. You have something where people, if they want to give or contribute to what you're doing, can you talk a little bit about that and give whatever links and stuff that you have, so people can be aware of that? And
yes, I can. It's I'm happy to announce that I think it's the first place I'm actually doing is on your show.
Okay.
My law firm right now is we're making a foundation. It's called the Moses West Foundation. And it's not up and running yet. We're still getting everything done so it can take off. And basically what the foundation is going to do is all the profit from my company, my private company, where I sell the technology to the military and build out equipment for everybody in the world that wants to order the technology, and licensing agreements for other people to build the technology and pay the company. All my profit's going to go into this foundation. And that foundation, what it's going to do, it's going to allow the projects to be built around the world on donations, plus for the profits from my company that I own, basically for free for people, and to advance the technology of not only producing water, but growing hydroponic, non-GMO, organic foods, and producing energy, and combining it all in one place, and showing everybody how to do it, teaching college students, mentoring children, and just basically giving back to the world of what we've taken away, and providing people a new source of water, food, and energy all combined in one. And then when I pass away, when I'm gone, because I'm not going to live forever,
right,
all the developments and all the patents and everything I have will fund this foundation from now until infinity.
Right.
And that's my goal right now.
Wow.
So that foundation is being built right now as I speak.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Now, do you have any of your children or family members that work with you as well? Or?
No, I don't. All my family's in Georgia. I'm here in Georgia and Alabama.
Okay.
And up in Detroit. I'm here, and so I have my manufacturers, but hopefully some point in time, I would like to bring on more people, and I'm going to have to.
Yeah.
Especially when we come out of this COVID virus thing, everybody's going to be looking for a new direction.
Absolutely. I was just reading, was it today? I think it was today. Bangladesh, India, I believe it was somewhere in India. They have a monsoon or something that's getting ready to devastate. Well, it's doing it now. There.
A cyclone.
Yeah, a cyclone. There you go. A cyclone there. And in Michigan, they just had something that went
2 dams broke.
Yeah. So these disasters, they're forever happening. And people think that, well, you got plenty of water now. There's nothing to worry about. But, this water, it does infiltrate your natural drinking water. And so, no, it's not okay. You do need some real clean drinking water. That's something that can come in like this machine. Sounds like it can be set up very quickly as long as you have, everything that you need there. And people can automatically start getting their clean drinking water. I mean, this really is amazing. And I want to thank you so much for taking the time out and talking about that. Is there anything else you would like to share with us or tell everybody that's listening right now?
Yes, I would. Right now here in the United States, what's going to happen is going to happen globally.
Mm-hmm.
We have a thing called climate change. This year that we're coming into right now, this is going to be the hottest year in recorded history.
Mm-hmm.
And right now we have a COVID virus that's devastating the United States.
Mm-hmm.
We have had water issues in the United States, and especially in neighborhoods of color, for years, for decades.
Mm.
And so this technology, what it's going to do, is going to free us up from water contamination, and as the climate continues to warm up, and it's going to also help us provide clean water for crops.
Mm.
Because one of the things that you need to have right now to survive this COVID virus is you have to have a good, clean, healthy diet.
Mm-hmm.
And all the byproducts of what processed food does to us, all the byproducts of that is what this virus is attacking.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to have to think of a whole new paradigm of the way we live. Mm-hmm. Clean water, clean food, clean energy. Mm-hmm. It's the key to our survival. And what I want to do is ensure that you have the water to do exactly what you need to do to ensure that your children and your children in the future have a brighter future than we have today.
Well, that about does it for us today here on Issachar Podcast. I hope you really enjoyed that interview. Again, if you want to find out more about Moses West and the work that he does, just go to awgcontractingus.com. Again, that's awgcontractingus.com. And there you can find more about the machines that he's doing. And he's actually going to be, as he alluded to in this interview, he's actually going to be adding some more stuff on there, about the foundation he's creating and all of that. So you definitely want to make sure you bookmark that so you can stay up to date on that. And if you want to contribute to the work that he does, of course, he'll be all set up for that in the very near future. But thanks again for taking time out of your day to listen to another episode of Issachar Podcast. I hope you have a wonderful day. And until next time, this is Dwayne signing off. Take care.